Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today. And I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, we're looking at various thoughts and how they affect the world around us. Today's is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to a person who wants to end coach abuse. Do you have any idea what something like that does? Well, I think I do. But hey, let's talk to this guy and find out. Let me introduce our next guest, the one, the only, the amazing Mitch Lyons.
Hey, Tiberius. Nice to see you. Very nice, in fact.
Thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Okay, so you started the End Abusive Coaching campaign. Can you tell us what that means?
Really, it's about advocacy. I advocate for children wherever I can, and I started this because I've coached also for over 2 decades, 2.5 decades. And I've seen abuse in sports from some coaches, certainly not all, but it's worthy of talking about because it's very, very harmful to the people who are receiving that abuse. And I got into this because my daughter had an abusive coach, she and her teammates. So that's why I got into this idea that we could end abuse.
So what types of abuse are out there?
Well, there's all kinds of abuse from the ones that you read in the paper, which are usually physical or sexual abuse. But more widespread is emotional abuse, and that is verbal humiliation, body shaming. When you go out into the field, have you ever heard somebody yelling negatively, yelling positively, and that's encouraging? Yelling negatively, you can hear in the tone that it's something is not right. And what we're pointing out is that's really not only wrong in a moral sense, but it's not educational, and it's really anti-science, because science says that people perform better, learn faster in a positive, safe, and supportive environment. And so any yelling is actually generally, yes, it might work for one person. Oh, I needed somebody to get after me to get going. But really in sports, what we should be learning is how to do that yourself. And it's called intrinsic, inside you, that you have developed that motivation. And that's a practice thing. You don't just do it like that, although some people do. But yeah, so it's a difficult a thing to master, but only if you practice, and it starts with recognizing what you're thinking about. That's, in education, it's called metacognition. But think about what you're thinking about. So you begin to categorize. All I'm doing to myself is talking negatively. That's not going to help anything. So you start to recognize things. And then it translates to sports too, because what are you thinking about? For instance, I know you bowl, and when you're standing up there and the ball is in front of you and you're looking down the alley, what's going through your head?
Those pins need to fall down.
Right. What about, and I know you're doing really well about it. There's also people who are trying to learn what you've already done, and they're thinking about other things like technique, like the way they're going to follow through, right? Yes. Or the spin that they're going to get on the ball. Or,
I see now. Okay, let me answer your question again. So I'm like, stand on board 20, which is the middle, if you don't know. Throw the ball out to board 5, and then just let it do its thing. That's my technique.
You lost me. Oh, I see. Yeah, in terms of bowling,
the board is on the ground. 20 is middle. 5 is out here on the right. 5 boards from the
Yes.
gutter, and then just let it do its thing. But how are you going to
Well,
stop
that's
this abuse?
okay. Different question. Not me, us. And I think that's the important part, is that kids, if you have kids listening to this, should realize that when somebody's yelling, that is wrong, and that they should get other kids and then go on together to the principal or the athletic director or first to the coach and say, why are you yelling at us? We don't like it. It's not, we're not having fun. We're not learning anything because we're so scared because you're always yelling. If you did that together, and that's the point here, we're trying to start a national conversation that involves students to speak up and to say things together so that you're not alone. And that's part of advocacy. That's my job, is how to advocate. And it always comes through going to people that you know or think like you do about a certain subject. And now you begin to form a group, and you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 times the brain power.
Okay, well, since you said yelling is wrong, what is the line of crossing from no abuse to abuse?
Well,
Like the line.
first of all, we're talking about, yeah, but if I could be yelling positively, come on, go Tiberius, you can do it. I'm yelling, right? So, but that's encouraging people. If I'm saying, how could you possibly do that? I mean, I don't understand. I mean, in front of the whole team, you just blew it. That's a different kind of yelling, right? So what we want to do is, I think you can hear in the tone when you go in to, let's say, a gym or any place where the sport's going on, and there's a coach, or parents also are much more likely to do that actually than a coach. But it's happening all the time, and it's embarrassing to kids. I've coached many times kids whose parents are yelling, and they say, I'm so embarrassed by them because there's no need for anger. It's a joyful thing. I played full court basketball 3 times a week until I was 65. I never got too old for it. I loved it, and I was fortunate because I didn't get hurt. But and every game was a blessing. It's fun to compete against someone else as long as you have a perspective. It's called perspective taking or self-awareness, that in the grand scheme of things, this game is really not going to matter. You know, what kind of human being I will be, that matters, because that affects everything in your life, from family to your work relationships when you finally go work, and also your friendships. Do we know how to build long-lasting friendships with people? And if we do, your life gets enriched, right, by more people in it. So that's what sports could actually be teaching explicitly.
Okay, so hold on. Technically, what is stopping coaches to just not listen to you or just ignore you?
Now, you being me personally, or to or a player are you thinking about?
Just what's stopping coaches from not listening to you, telling them to stop abuse?
Well, first of all, there's no law that can keep people from being nasty. Really, there's no way to do that. What there is a collective consciousness. That's a whole group of people who believe in the same things, and that is that we want to have fun playing sports. And only through that, I have personally in Massachusetts, we have this legislation that will have the Department of Education give an example of how to implement a scientific curriculum dealing with these wonderful skills that are so important on all sports teams. And then everybody's going to be doing the same thing. Everyone is going to try to create these positive spaces. And when that happens, abuse will fall. The hate that sometimes accompany sports will be mitigated, lessened. And I think also that the toxic culture, the angry, you don't have to be angry to play good. Yeah. You have to be very determined and focused on technique, on the little things, not on this mood that's supposed to make you stronger, but in actuality ends up making you weaker. What makes you stronger is working together as a team or even individually. When you're facing that alley, it's just you, like a tennis player or anyone who's playing alone. You have to control your mind, not have your mind control you.
So what's the best part about working at this job?
Speaking to people like yourself and to others, and to show that there's another way of teaching sports in youth sports that would involve certain basic principles that run through a league or a club or a school district. So that's the way to make change, is by offering. Right now, think about school. It tries to teach you the sciences up to date knowledge into your brain, except sports, where the coach demands blind obedience. And blind obedience means I'll tell you, whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do, even if I think it's wrong. And I think in some ways that's necessary, like during a game, the way to play. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about human beings and the way we treat each other, which is a lot more serious and long lasting. And I think that the way to do this is for children to start speaking up. Not just follow. Today, employers do not want a person who blindly obeys. They want people who think on their feet, who see problems before they happen, and that's called critical thinking, like examining how we are thinking. And sports is filled with that, right? It's filled with decisions that have to be made, some sports more than others. I mean, I'm a basketball person, so there's constant movement going on that has to be evaluated.
Well, here seems like a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810.
And we are back here talking with Mitch Lyons. Mitch runs the End Abusive Coaching campaign. So, you do a lot of work. Can you explain on an average day of life?
Lots of time on the computer, reaching out to people and speaking with them, managing the website, going on social media and talking about it, because to get into a national conversation about why we don't have a science curriculum for sports is it's never been in the conversation. People just accept that the coach should do whatever they want when there's a whole science to learn. So that's why we're doing this. Why not learn what sports psychologists charge $200 an hour for? Social emotional learning, which is an educational process that teaches how to build relationships with other people and how to identify your emotions and learn coping skills for stress and all of these practical things that everybody needs, whether you're a top student or not. It doesn't matter. You still have to be thinking, and we are examining thoughts. That's one of the reasons that I think I'm so interested in it. And I work all day at it in espousing what I just told you.
Okay. So, do you have to do a lot of training or go to college to do this type of work?
No, no.
Okay.
Every single person can do this kind of work. You have to have a computer and start reading about social emotional learning skills.
Okay.
And if you get on, and if you put that in Google, you're going to see lots of material, but also some wonderful like pie charts. They call them wheels, but it's a pie chart, and it teaches you about all of the competencies one has to have in order to be successful. And at your age, this is the time you're starting to think about your life ahead of you in a much more logical way than you did a couple of years ago. And one way to look, that thinking is really critical. So how you do it is important. And to learn the specific skills, the how to do something. Like, how do I build a positive environment around me where people like me, I like them, we freely exchange ideas, we talk with respect with each other. So that's all possible, without any degrees whatsoever. It's possible for a 5-year-old, and people learn it at that age. They learn how to get along, like sharing when you were a kid. That's a good example, but it's taught by saying that. We're going to learn about how to share. So you break that half of the candy bar and let's share it with somebody else. Why do we do that? And then you start discussing that, even with a 5-year-old. So you need no degree.
Okay. So do you have a lot of interviews like this one?
Yes. I mean, I've been on many podcasts and plan to be on more as long as I'm around.
Okay. So who helped motivate or inspire you the most in following your dream?
My daughter, and the strength that she showed in standing up for her whole team. She inspires me, as does my wife of 53 years. And I'm inspired by people who care about other people. That's what is, to me, that's the best.
So can you share a memorable moment or highlight from your career?
Well, I organized a conference that was held in a state house in Boston, and the legislators there didn't know anything about social emotional learning. And I took the initiative to stage a conference there with 240 people. And by the time they left that day, so many more people who make a difference in policy, educational policy, knew about it. I was very proud of staging that event. But I also staged the King Richard's Fair, and it was a Renaissance fair because you didn't know that side of me that loves acting. I was the executioner in this play, sort of, where you go into this festival at medieval times, and I was the executioner, and I had a vest and black pants and a hood, so you couldn't see anything but my eyes and my beard. And I used to say to them, "Art thou departing?" And they would say, "Yes." And I would say, "Departing is my business."
That's good.
They left with a laugh. That's the important thing.
So if someone wanted to work towards doing this for a living, what should they do first?
Learn to care for yourself and learn how to make that easier by using the skills that are being taught everywhere now, and that's social emotional learning skills, and become a human being that you like. You have to like yourself. You have to encourage yourself. You have to positive self-talk, like I'm good, I can do this, and believe it. So yes, that's my advice.
Can you provide an example of a situation that didn't go as planned, and what'd you learn from it?
Advocacy is filled with disappointments. Because no is the usual answer, because people generally don't like to change. And so there's always pushback for anyone who's saying we can do better. You have a cold? A little?
Little. But what's the best advice you've ever received?
What's the what? Sorry?
Best advice that you've ever received.
Oh, well, that's a great question. Somebody once told me to be mission-driven, but values-led. Mission-driven, that means I want to get something done, but only if it's within my value system. That was very inspiring for me, and I try to live that way.
Well, who gave you that advice?
A woman named Alice Nanjmi, who is the CEO of the foundation to be named later, which is run by Theo Epstein and his brother. He used to be general manager for the Red Sox and the Cubs. And she's a brilliant person, and one I respect.
What message do you want to tell children all over the world about doing the work that you do?
If something's wrong, speak up about it. Don't hide it. Don't be ashamed. Find a trusted adult, one trusted adult. It could be in your family, or it could be the school nurse, or a counselor, or a social worker, someone that you can relay, an adult, that something is happening and that they ought to know about it. So be aware that not everyone is nice. And always watch around you when you're outside, look around, and that's being present. That's called mindfulness. Like, be present. Don't be thinking about something else while you're doing one thing. So I would say, think about yourself as a person that needs, that wants to do well and wants encouragement and not negative thinking. You can give that to yourself by talking to yourself. Chemically, it makes a difference. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a sports psychologist. I'm just a coach who learned about educational ways of learning coping skills, and everybody today, has those moments. Well, what do you do with them? Look up coping skills on Google, and you'll find out how to reduce stress in your life. So, and you're of the age that's going to be happening more and more. And but everybody who has lived through that. So, take heart.
Well, on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills. And we are back with the owner of End Abusive Coaching campaign, Mitch Lyons. Now, Mitch, what's your favorite part of your day?
When the Celtics are on. I really enjoy watching them play.
What was that one thing that has happened in your career that you will never forget?
Oh, I'm 77. That's a long career. The one thing that comes to mind is the day after I retired from law. and this talk about mental skills. All the weight of the world was off me, and I shot an 82 in golf. And every shot was like, where did that come from? So it just shows you when you're free in your mind, you can do, the natural things. And you set a rule of that yourself with the bowling, and by just letting it happen.
How do you motivate and inspire players to give their speech about their experience?
Yeah, so One is give them permission to speak, like in tone and in specifically saying and meaning that you can speak freely here. And many kids don't feel that they can, or they're embarrassed, to speak in front of the peers. And this is not abnormal. It's just a part of life, and it's uncomfortable. And, part of life is finding ways to feel comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Are there any specific drills or exercises you recommend for coaches who want to improve their social skills with their team?
Well, yes, there are. And the first and foremost is the central part for all learning. In Massachusetts, in education, we have a safe and supportive schools framework based upon the fact that people learn faster and perform better in positive environments. Again, not every single case, but generally that's the case. So coaches could be working on and giving people permission to speak by saying, I have no expectations of the team, but what are yours? What do you want to see in your teammate? And let them come up with that and say, okay, that's what we're going to work on. Because invariably, kids come up with good things that they want to see in their teammates, like being on time and they've come up with great rules. So that gives them permission. It becomes their team, not the coach's team. Let the kids lead the way in what they know is right. And yes, occasionally there'll be trouble, but that's okay, because in sports, there are obstacles. So there's always going to be things to overcome.
Well, how do you approach teamwork and building a strong sense of camaraderie among the coaches?
Well, that's difficult to do, except if I were an athletic director, I would say, you're my team. The coaches, you're my team, and this is the game plan. And we're all going to teach some of this. That doesn't mean that your styles are not going to be different, I would tell them. It just means that there are certain things that are inalienable. And that is, I have a right to a safe place as a child, and not to be screamed at, which goes right into my brain and is very, very harmful. And depending on how egregious it is and how long it happens, the brain changes from it. And it can lead to lifelong disorders, because all you're hearing is the negative talk in your head. But it's not your negative talk, it's somebody else's. But you've adopted it as your own. So that, yes, that's my answer to that.
Okay, so what's the biggest mistake that you've ever made? And how did it change you as a person?
The biggest mistake I made? God, there's so many. It's hard. Life is a series of mistakes. I'm just trying to think of one that really proves the point. Well, in coaching, choosing the wrong system. Once it was a short game in a camp that I was coaching, and I had visions that we would win the tap and go in and score a point, which won the whole game. But I never put anyone in back in case we didn't lose the tap, in case we didn't win the tap. So no one was back when they won the tap, because I made it. I'm not a good game coach, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But that was never my thing. It was all about the drive of the players and how to develop into bigger than the sport. The things that are bigger than the sport, like that improves your play.
Do you play video games? And if you do, what is your favorite one?
Well, the last time I played a video game was with my daughter and son when they were, I'd say, 14 and 11. And we were playing Mario Brothers, and I couldn't figure out how to make the thing jump. And I just remember that the three of us were laughing hysterically as I tried to do things I wasn't capable of doing. That's the last time, honestly, I've ever played a video game. But I've watched them. I've seen them.
Well, okay. Can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show. The one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
Oh, wow. Let's see. One thing that I'm not supposed to tell you. Well, I love my wife. And I guess I could say that to anybody, but I can't think of anything. I'm a very open person, so I don't keep a lot of secrets.
Is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
Well, only that I'm encouraging children to speak up and speak out and band together and do what's right. And if somebody and also, yeah, I think that would be it.
Okay. What is your Facebook or website for those listeners that want to follow you?
My website is endabusivecoaching.org. And I don't have to tell your audience all one word. It's endabusivecoaching.org. And they can reach me through that site, and explains solutions. And the big solution is put something in writing, because then all people will be on the same page. Kids don't get upset wondering what the coach is going to do if something happens, as opposed to putting down what it is that the coach is supposed to do.
Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
What are you doing tonight for dinner?
Well, what are you doing tonight for dinner?
I think I'm going for a Mexican restaurant with my son, who's landing in about 3 hours from Chicago. So that's what I think we'll be doing.
Thank you, Mitch, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Oh, yes, I can.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you like clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut! That's a wrap! Just use that! Tiberius's favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And thank you, Mitch, for helping me with Math Corners. This week, we are going to do some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve, and today, we are going to talk about a soccer tournament. Okay, well, a soccer team has played 20 matches so far in the tournament. They have won 12 matches, drawn 5, and lost the rest. Each win earns them 3 points, so each draw earns 1 point, and a loss earns them nothing. How many points do they have in total? Well, first, this is a real-world problem because there are tons of people who want to play soccer who want to keep score. But can you keep score?
No, I'm a terrible scorekeeper. I'm terrible at math, and that's why I married my wife of 53 years. She was a math major.
Okay. So to find the total points earned by the soccer team, we calculate the points gained from wins and draws. With 12 wins, each earning 3 points, the team accumulates 36 points. Additionally, with 5 draws, each worth 1 point, they gain 5 points. Well, summing these results, the team has earned a total of 41 points. Points from the matches played so far. But I don't think there's points like that in a tournament. I think it's just win-lose and double elimination. But, Mitch, have you ever had a scoring system for tournaments like that?
No, I've never run that part of it. So
Ah.
I don't know, but I've heard of a scoring system that way, and I thought hockey, I believe, is that way. You get different points for ties and wins, losses.
Ah. Now, Mitch, my teacher said that I would use math every day. How do you use math with your work?
Mainly in budgets.
Ah.
You have to, figure out how much money you have and where to spend it. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mitch, for your help with math corners.
Not much help, but thank you.
And now it's time for the heart of a lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the heart of a lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're going to talk about integrity. For me, I think integrity is doing what is right, even when no one else is looking. The qualities of integrity is honesty, sincerity, truthfulness, and fairness. This week at school, we went to SeaWorld. We had so much fun riding the rides, and my favorite was Manta, but wait, this isn't about me. This is about integrity. See, when we had to leave, we were mid-roller coaster ride, so everyone was looking for us. We weren't using integrity because we weren't paying attention to the time and the responsibility to get back to the bus. Now, lucky for us, the bus was running late anyways. And we did have a parent with us, but this was a good example of not using integrity because everyone was wondering where we were. And trust me, when I mean everyone, I mean everyone. Well, Mitch, did you see or use integrity at all this week?
Well, integrity is part of everyday life. It's how you live your life, and it's something to be proud of. If you have integrity, that's people use it as a positive adjective describing people, and I hope I have it, and I hope you could see that I was sincere today in what I said, and I love your energy.
Thanks.
And I like that you your response sometimes to your father is so age appropriate. It makes me smile. It's a good thing.
Okay.
I'm sure you're going to do quite well, whatever you do.
Well, of all of the heart of a lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
The one that says Heart of the Lions, my last name.
Nice.
The honest, what were the four again?
Leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility.
Leadership, because leaders organize and are active and make change, make things happen that are different than what we were before, and improve ourselves.
Okay. We should always try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
I think we should.
And that is our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Mitch Lyons for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about ending abusive coaching and how that makes life so much easier for everyone in sports.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed my time with you.
Do you mind giving your social media and website again?
Sure. End Abusive Coaching, all one word, .org.
Okay. Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And I would like to thank WWPR 1490 AM, KNT98, Soul Radio 24/7, Easy Way TV, and all the other stations that air on my show. Please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Now, Mitch, have you subscribed yet?
Yes.
Good. Oh, and leave a comment if you want to go help Mitch. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.